Welcome to our team call tonight, everyone. I'm super excited because we have a guest speaker who is not a coach, and I thought that it's going to be so great because typically we get other coaches to share best tips and practices and how to hit Success Club and things like that. And I think getting an outside perspective is always super beneficial, just to, hear different practices and hear different tips and hear things put in a different way. And we actually have Sandy's husband, Jared, here to talk to us. And he works with Grant Cardone, who most of you guys have either read the 10X Rule or are reading it, or I've told you to read it. So he works with the author of that book, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about the 10X Rule, what it means, and then answer the questions that you guys submitted. But just one thing, or I guess three things before I hand it over to him. The only update that I have for you guys is no real update because there's, 4 days left in the month. So I wanted to give you guys tips to help lock in Success Club by the end of the month, which if you guys are a Success Club Zero, I totally believe and know that anyone can achieve helping 3 people within the next couple of days if you put your mind to it. And so the 3 tips I have is, one is use Memorial Day to your advantage. Lots of people are going to have barbecues, or they're traveling this weekend, or there's weddings this weekend, and they're going to indulge. So use that to your advantage, and in your posts you can even talk about how you're planning on doing it too, but you're going to get back on track, or you're looking for people who are going to indulge because you want to be there for them, or you have a group starting after Memorial Day. Anything around that, people are going to be like, yes, on Tuesday I'm definitely getting back on track. So you want to be there for those people. Number 2 is try doing a giveaway, and it doesn't have to be anything big. If you have, leftover Shakeology packets or shaker cups or anything like that, that would be cool. But even something as small as, I just found today, you can order PB2 packets, kind of like the Justin's almond butter packets. You can buy that, that with a hair tie and something else that's small, just like a personal note. Doing a giveaway like that to everyone who orders, or everyone who orders will be entered to win a $25 gift card, or every person who orders by the 31st will get a $10 gift card. Get creative and think about what your target market would be attracted to and do a giveaway of some sort. And lastly is follow-ups. I mean, the only reason I hit Success Club every month is follow-ups, I would say, because people order through the follow-ups. The fortune is in the follow-up. Very rarely do I invite someone and they actually join that day. So don't forget to go through all of your people that you've ever invited, even those people that said no, and reach back out to them and invite them. Okay, I think that's it. So I kind of already did an introduction for Jared, but he is going to be amazing. He also is on the show Young Hustlers, which I posted about today, but at like 11:30, so most of you missed it. And I actually watched a little bit of it before the call tonight, and it's like so like impromptu and informal, but also like tons of amazing tips, and I loved it. So he's really, initially I thought that he was going to be like just really sales focused, but after watching Young Hustlers, I realized that it's like he's like a business guru. Like he knows, yes, about sales, but also about being an entrepreneur and making money and all of that stuff. So Jared, I'll just hand it over to you if you want to share more about like who you are and what the 10X rule is and anything else that you want to share. Then we can get into the questions. I can unmute.
Okay, there we go. Got it. So first of all, thank you for having me on tonight. Man, it's been an interesting journey for me. So I'm Grant's VP now, and 6 years ago I came to work for him and was just kind of in a weird spot, had just moved back to San Diego from Austin, Texas, and was working for my dad, but really just wasn't in a situation where I was happy. And, I moved to LA or San Diego actually, and had a job working for a buddy of mine, and was barely getting by, like making $2,500 a month, $3,000 a month, something like that, and sleeping on an air mattress, like broke, but I had to get out of Texas. I wanted to move back to San Diego, which is where I was born, and was living at the beach, and I got to this point where I was like, I've got to make something of what I'm doing. And I had a great job when I was younger and was making a bunch of money, and then kind of started making bad decisions, and was like, I need to get like my head back in the game. And my dad sent me a YouTube video one day, and it was a video of Grant. And I saw this video, and next thing I knew, like I got sucked into watching every video I could find about him, and every piece of information online I could find about him. I just consumed everything and was like, I got to go work for this guy, because Grant has a matter-of-fact way of communicating real problems and issues with the way that the majority of people think and operate. And I mean, like things that society for the last 50 years has ingrained into people. And so I decided I want to go work for this guy. So I called up the office and basically started cold calling the office every single day for about a month and a half, figured out who everybody was in the office, started building relationships with people in the office, until finally I got my opportunity to interview with him and got the job. I was answering phones and selling and, making copies, basically doing everything I could just to get into the space. And we've been on a pretty incredible ride the last few years. And really the big igniter for a lot of people was the book, The 10X Rule. And if you haven't read the book yet, the book is really about the way that people think and the way that they operate, and how to truly be successful, you have to break a lot of the rules that you've been taught growing up. And Grant always has this analogy that he uses as a child. As a child, you have this very voracious appetite. You don't operate within the normal. You're unreasonable, right? You want everything all the time, all the candy. You want it. You're crazy. You're a maniac running around the house screaming and yelling, and then you start getting throttled. And, it's don't do that, don't touch this, don't go there, don't do this, be careful. And you actually begin to be made smaller and to think smaller and to be more cautious. And the world just kind of like pushes you down into this place where you're almost like afraid to do anything to offend people. Or, man, I can't make that extra follow-up call. Or, man, making a cold call to somebody, I could never imagine doing that, because of the way that people actually have, in most cases your parents, have created, your thought process. And so the 10X rule breaks all those rules. And for me, there's two levels of the 10X rule. There is the first level of the 10X rule, which is for the people who have been in that position, in that box, if you will, that, through their education and their upbringing have been, kind of molded by society in ways that will keep them small forever. And then the second level of the 10X rule, or the 10Xers, are the people who have kind of been forced into a corner by society, but they're fighting their way out. And they know that the actions that they're taking and the way that they're thinking are the right things to do, but they're getting attacked from every angle because there's such a shortage of people who actually get the amount of work and the amount of effort it takes to truly be successful. And so the 10X rule at its most basic premise is just based on the idea that the amount of effort and energy that it takes to get something done, whether it's a new coach, whether it's the job you want, whether it's a raise, whether it's the guy or the girl, it takes 10 times more effort than you think it does. And the reason it does is because people never bring into the equation all the variables that happen. You figure, hey, if I bring 10 coaches in, then I don't know all the genealogy levels, but hey, if I sign up and I hit a 1-star diamond or 2-star diamond, I just sign up these coaches, man, it's only 12 people, man, or 10 people or 15 people or whatever it is. I can totally do that. But then what happens is you don't do all the math to figure out, well, how many people do I have to have the conversation with in order to get them to enroll? And then how many people do I have to get to enroll that can actually go out and start building a business? And then even way before that, how many people do I have to reach out to before I'm even going to get in the realm of getting enough opportunities to tell people about the opportunity? So that's why the 10X rule is so important. And what happens a lot of times in business or building a company for an organization like Beachbody is because people don't go through the steps to actually understand the work and effort that's required, the real math. They start getting hit with a lot of adversity and losses. And, this idea that they had, this excitement, this energy that they had about this new thing starts fading pretty fast because their mind wasn't prepared for what it was going to take to get the job done. Like right now, there's a lot of kids graduating from college that are trying to figure out where they're going to go to get jobs. For the first time, the number is the largest today as it's been in 130 years for the number of 18 to 34-year-olds that are still living with their parents at home. And you hear a lot about entitlement and that, the reason for these problems is because people were, the millennials feel entitled. And the truth is they had the wrong expectations set for them. And they weren't able to operate with a 10X level of thinking so that when they graduated, they knew how many phone calls, they knew how many resumes, they knew how much work, they knew how much competition was going for the same jobs that they were. And so the expectations that you set for yourself are extremely important, because if you can get yourself conditioned into how much work it really takes to be successful, then you're getting on the right track to be successful. And so Grant talks about the 4 degrees of action. And if you've read the book, there's no action at all, there's retreat, there's normal, and then there's massive action. And those are kind of the 4 levels that most people operate with. And after writing the book, this is one of the things that isn't in the book, but after writing the book, he started thinking, he said, well, the first one, which was retreat, actually isn't even possible. I'm sorry, no action. No action isn't even possible. Because if you decide, hey, I'm going to pick this phone up and then you don't do it, it's actually a retreat from the activity that you were going to do. So you sitting at home and not calling anybody and sharing about the Beachbody opportunity, that isn't no action. That is actually a retreat from the proper activity. Okay? So the normal level of activity is really where the danger zone is. Because if you're retreating, you've already submitted. You've already surrendered. But the normal levels of activity is where people get in trouble, because that is where they're doing the things that the people around them are saying are the right thing to do. The problem is that most people don't know the right activity to take in the first place. So these normal levels of activity, these normal levels of activity in society where people look at you and you're doing as expected. You're not getting too big. You're not posting too much. You're not sharing the opportunity too much. You're not telling everybody you know about Beachbody too much. You're just kind of operating in that sort of comfort zone. You're doing just enough to make it feel like you're working, but not enough to really get into that level of truly being successful. The third level is massive action. And that's where you actually start making progress. And the thing with massive action and the way you actually transition from normal to massive, and this is a very interesting thing, and you'll see it happen. When you transition from normal levels of activity to massive levels of activity, what happens is you're going to start getting criticism from people around you. You're going to start getting attention in a way that people are going to start telling you, wow, you sure are sharing this a lot. You're posting a lot about this. Every time I talk to you, you're talking about exercising and working out. So massive action and the indicator that you've begun your transition into massive action is that new problems start arising. And you will start looking around you and seeing things change. Maybe that's, friends just saying you're posting too much, or family saying you're too committed to one thing, or maybe a boss at work that's saying, why are you messing with that Beachbody thing? This is a real job. That's not a real job. You're never going to make any money doing that, because you start breaking the rules, right? You start breaking the rules of what people actually expect from other normal people. And so when you start becoming the thing that sticks out, when you start becoming the thing that's different, the black sheep, then it starts bringing a lot of attention to you. And there's a formula for success outside of the activity rule base and the 10X rule, but there's a formula for when you know that you're going to start getting towards success. And it's a 4-step formula. The first step is getting attention. So you must get attention if you want to be successful. If people don't know you're a Beachbody coach, I promise you they'll never do business with you. Okay? So the first thing you have to do is you have to get attention. People have to know you. They have to know who you are. And you have to take every opportunity that you possibly can to do that. Now, for me, that was social media. For me, that was the people around me, my friends, my family. I mean, I was selling my product to everybody. My parents, my aunts and uncles, everybody around me was getting on my product because that was my immediate source of influence. Just like when you start building a business for Beachbody, you want to start with your power base is what we call it. The people that are closest to you, that know you, that trust you, and want to see you do well. So once you start getting levels of attention that are getting you close to that massive action level, you're going to start getting criticism. So the first step is getting attention. The second step is getting criticism, because you're starting to break the rules. You're being different, okay? And when you continue to pour on the activity so that you get more attention, that criticism is actually going to grow. And that criticism actually will become hate. And so you hear everybody talk about haters. This is when you know that you're almost there. When you start getting haters that are posting negatively about you, people that are unfriending you, that is when you know, and I know that it sounds crazy, but that is when you know that you're actually getting close to the fourth and final step, which is admiration. So attention, criticism, hate, and then finally admiration. Now, I was fortunate enough to see this entire formula play out over the last 6 years that I worked for Grant, because when I came to work for him, I think he had 30 videos on his YouTube channel. No Twitter, no Facebook, no Periscope. I mean, that wasn't even a dream at this point. We literally had just gotten him a Facebook page. And so as he started going and figuring out these mechanisms, these free mechanisms that you have at your disposal to go out and to share with people what you're doing and who you are, it's free, it's unlimited. The only thing that it costs is creativity and a little bit of effort on your end. It's absolutely free. So he saw this opportunity and said, hey, this is my opportunity to get attention. And so we started blasting social media. I mean, we were posting once a day, and then we bumped it up to twice a day, and people said, you're posting too much. We went from twice a day to 10 times a day. And it started, the conferences that we went to, people said, Grant is the example of what not to do with social media. And then 6 years later, he's one of the top 8 coaches, business experts to follow on Twitter. He was awarded one of the top 10 CEOs to follow on social media. And companies reach out to us to help pilot and launch their platforms. So my point in telling you that story is the hate in the people that are criticizing you, that are surrounding you, are often just seeing something in you that they're not doing themselves, that they know is the right thing to do. And so as you're building your business, you need to be mindful of that. If you're showing up and you've got a great product, and you have, you're taking the right amounts of activity, you believe in what you do, there should be no reason why you feel shameful about sharing that. If you truly believe in your company, you truly believe in your product, and you truly believe in yourself, that is something that you should want to go out and share with everybody. It actually should become an ethical issue for you. Like, I know I have a great product, okay? We sell sales training for salespeople. And I know the results that we've delivered for people. I mean, we got an email today from a guy who typed in, he said, you literally saved my life. So when I know that we have the capability of doing that to people, it is ethically, I have an ethical obligation to go out and share that opportunity with people. Now, all I'm doing is providing them with a way that they can go make a little extra money. You guys have the ability to provide people with something that will change their health and the quality of their life, and give them an opportunity maybe to spend more time with their families. I have one grandfather, that's it. And my other grandfather's dead. Both my other grandmothers are dead as well. And it was because they didn't take care of themselves. You know, they didn't take care of themselves throughout their life. They made poor health choices and they got taken early. And Sandy, you know, her grandfather just turned 92 years old. And I'm like, man, I want that deal. I want to go all the way like that. And I've got, so my point in telling you is like, you've got a great product and you need to share it with people, because there are people out there, obesity is an epidemic in this country, and you have a product that can truly help people in massive ways. Now, the reason that the 10X rule is important, and I want to share some stats with you. 46% of Americans don't have enough money to actually retire. 57% have less than $10,000 in savings. 67% of all businesses either break even or lose money. And 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. I just read another stat that was saying that almost 40% of Americans can't come up with $400 for an emergency. The reason that there are these issues and these problems is because people fail to operate with the 10X rule, because they do just enough. They're more focused on comfort than they are freedom. They're more focused on, a career or a job instead of a career. They're more focused on income than wealth. They're more focused on how can I make 50 or 60 grand a year than how can I make 500 or 600 grand a year. And so what you need to understand is that everything that's going on around us right now, that's affecting you, that's affecting me, that's affecting everybody who operates in business, who lives in this country, the only thing that will save you is you. And the only way that you can ensure that you're successful is to start changing the way that you think. And the 10X rule will get you in that mindset, but it requires some work and some effort to get there. And it's going to require that you make some choices. And sometimes for some people, comfort is more important than freedom. And you need to figure out how important what your goals are. We have this program, we call it the MORE formula. And everywhere we go, we talk to salespeople who want more. I want more income. I want more happiness. I want more time with my family. I want more love. I want more quality in my relationship. I want more. I want more. I want more. People that want more, but then they don't know how to actually go out and get it. And so there's a formula that you can put in place to ensure that you're moving towards your goals and doing the right things. And it first starts with clearly identifying what you want. Now, people talk about writing down goals and, doing it every day, which very few people do. Isn't it funny how the easiest things are sometimes really hard to do? They talk about their goals, but they've never really thought them out. If you think that you have, clear focused goals and you have intention towards your goals, I would just ask you, what are your goals right now? I always ask this when I run sales meetings. What are your goals? And then somebody will say, well, I want a big house. Well, how big of a house do you want? Big. Well, how big? The biggest one on the block. Yeah, but what does that mean? What about you? What are your goals? Oh man, I want to make a lot of money. How much? $1 million. So you could do what with it? What would you do with $1 million? Why $1 million? Why not 1.1 million? So take the time to really map your goals out. Make them real for you. Because when you have clear intention on exactly what it is you want, focus starts coming in. And when you can get focused on something and you can start focusing on that every day, then your creativity and your energy starts coming up behind your commitment to that one target and that one goal. So once you identify what you want, you have to start looking around you and asking yourself the honest question, what is preventing me from getting there? Okay, if I want to get to 5-star diamond, what is holding me back? Is it my knowledge of internet marketing? Is it my inability or my discomfort with being able to go have a face-to-face conversation with somebody about Beachbody? Is it the time that I'm committing to Beachbody? Is it my attitude? Maybe it's the way that you're reaching out to people. Maybe you don't understand certain things about how to handle objections or something. You got to figure out what it is that's stopping you from getting there, and have an honest discussion with yourself, and go down and create a list of the things that are holding you back from getting there. The third thing you got to do is you got to start removing the blocks that are in the way. Now, for me, I had friends that were blocking me and stopping me from getting what I wanted. You know, I had considerations for what people thought of me that were holding me back from getting me where I wanted to be. Removing the blocks is the hardest part of the whole deal, because it requires that you make tough decisions. Maybe it requires that you cancel your cable, and instead of watching TV for 2 hours of every night, you get 2 more hours of work in. And when we talk about work in the 10X rule, you get this, you start thinking, man, you got to go all in. You got to be a maniac. Well, you do. And then you know, there's other considerations that are, well, you know, when is enough enough? Well, if your connection to your purpose and your clarity on what you want is strong enough, then you will always find the fuel and the fire to continue to push. If your why is big enough, then the how will figure itself out. If your goals are big enough to get you excited, then you'll be willing to make the tough choices and do the hard things. So after you identify what you want, after you identify what's in the way, after you remove the blocks, then you have to start adding skill and then reinforcing that skill every day. So like one thing that we do in our office is every single day we role play. Now, I know if you're you know working at home and there's nobody to role play with, it could be difficult, but there's a lot of people in the same situation in your network or in your group that would benefit from doing this. I have some of the best salespeople that I've ever met working for me, and every single day, the guy that makes $400,000 a year and the guy that makes $40,000 a year sit down and they all role play for 30 minutes. They get in and they say, hey, what are the top problems, the top challenges that we run into on a daily basis? And then we have, you know, word tracks that we've created for handling each of those problems. And every single day for a half hour, we sit down and we go over and over and over and over and over all those problems again. And the reason we do that is because when we get out on the court or when we get out on the field or when we're actually in front of a customer or on the phone with them, we want to win. And when you lose with the customer, you start losing confidence and certainty. When a customer or a client or a prospect or somebody you're trying to share the opportunity with asks you a question and you don't know how to handle it, there's lag in your communication. What happens is they lose certainty, okay? If people are not certain, they will not make a decision to do anything with you. So what you have to do is you have to do everything possible to get your certainty to a point where people will actually believe what you're saying. So Sam, when you did the intro, you're speaking very clearly, very direct. You have a plan. There's no spaces or blocks or ums or this or that's, or you clearly communicated this, hey, this is what we're doing here today. This is, you know, who we have here, and this is what I hope you guys get from the deal today. So you have to be able to handle problems in a transaction the same way. If a customer says they need to think about it, or they need to talk to their husband or wife, or how is this different from another company that I tried that it didn't work out with, or, you know, aren't those pyramid schemes? You know, you need to be prepared on how to handle those to the point where there's no lag in communication, there's no hesitation, and you can literally run over the objection in the deal. That starts building altitude for you in the interaction with people. And so that interaction, that altitude, that confidence that you get will actually elevate the certainty of the person that you're talking to. So this all goes back to the 10X rule, because in order to get to that point, you have to start thinking at 10X levels with your commitment, with the amount of work it's going to take to get done, with your commitment to training, not just going on and watching videos about people who've been successful with Beachbody, but like actually trying to figure out how to handle the problems that when you call somebody and they don't sign up with you, why did they not sign up with you? And then write that down. And then you reach out to somebody on Facebook or Instagram and they say, no, I'm doing my own thing, or I've tried that before. How do you handle that? You need to write down all those problems that you're having on a daily basis. And what's going to happen is you're going to start you're going to start doing things that other people aren't doing. And because of that, you're going to get results that other people are not. Because you're changing the way that you're thinking, you're taking it seriously. You get consumed with everything around you. And so the 10X rule isn't just a book that you read once and feel good about. The 10X rule is something that you put in place in your life every single day. But if you're not willing to accept the responsibility tied to all your activity, then you're never going to have any control of the results. You can only control the things that you're willing to accept responsibility for. So if I'm not willing to accept the responsibility for the car accident that I got in on the way into work, I relinquish responsibility that to somebody else. If I don't assume all responsibility for a phone call that I make and the result of that phone call, then I actually empower the other person to have control over that interaction. So no matter what, you have to be able to come out of every single day going, did I go all in? Did I not? Was I at 10X or was I at 2X? Maybe 1X. I don't know. But what could I have done differently? What could I have done different today? On a call, I lose a big deal. What could I have done differently? I just had a guy we pitched a 7-figure deal to. He has a big business and owns a bunch of locations of car dealerships all over the country. And we lost the deal. And I was trying to figure out, I'm like racking my brain. He told me that it was because they were buying a bunch of stuff and his plate was just too full. But I know that if I would have done the right things, presented the product the right way, shared the opportunity the right way, built enough value, handled the problems, set them up for success, gave them the right expectations, that I could have gotten the deal, just like you could have gotten the deal. Everybody's a buyer at some point. You just have to find the yes in them, and you have to be creative and you have to be persistent. And using the 10X rule will give you the skills so that you can become more aware of what's happening in every communication interaction that you have with people. Because it's not how good you are today. It's how good you need to be to get where you want to be. And the only way you can get there is by constantly improving your skill and ability, and joining on these calls like this and listening to the stories of people around you and learning from them and doing something with them and role playing with people and applying those formulas. What do I want? What's in my way? Get it out, and then add skill. So that's kind of just my that's my message on the 10X rule. There's a lot more. I mean, it's such a great book. You could do a meeting like this and talk for an hour on every chapter in the book. So I think there's some questions. Do you want to ask some questions?
Yeah. First of all, I was writing down notes and like certain things I was starring because I was like, oh, I really want to highlight that, or this is really good. And there's like too many stars to even mention anything. But that was like so informative. I think a lot of people, even that read the 10X rule, it's a great reminder to hear those things. And you mentioned a few things that aren't even mentioned in the book, which is really helpful. But yeah, we do have a lot of questions. So I'm going to just roll through those, I guess. The first one is, how long do you find it takes for someone to go from level 3 to level 4 and start seeing results?
It's about a decision that you make. I think what they're asking is going from the normal level to the massive level.
Yeah.
You can start tomorrow. If you're not doing the things that you need to do on a daily basis today, that doesn't mean that tomorrow you can't change. And it's literally that easy, because I made the decision literally overnight that I was going to work for this guy, and every single day I'm calling him every single day. I'm getting hung up on, I'm getting transferred all around. I'm not getting through until finally I got through and I got my shot. So, you can start making the right moves tomorrow, but you have to have the plan, right? Like, you have to know at the end of the day that there's not one extra thing that you could have done. That's when you know that you've started getting into that level. But like I said earlier, you'll know when you make the transition, when people around you start raising eyebrows, like, hey, what's going on, man? Something's different. Something's changed. You're different. You're posting a lot. I'm seeing when you start getting that type of feedback from people, that's the indication that you've gotten into that level where you're starting to make people around you uncomfortable. But remember, it's because it says more about them than it does about you.
Mm-hmm. Number 2, how many times do you suggest following up with someone after they say no? And how often do you ever take them off your list?
80% of every transaction takes place between the 5th and the 12th follow-up attempt. So if you don't follow up with people more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times, you're gonna miss opportunities all over the place. Follow-up's probably one of the biggest things that are missing. And whenever I talk to people in network marketing, that's the big thing, because they feel I brought this opportunity to somebody, I shared it with them, they said no, and then they moved on. The first no that you get from somebody is really just a pre-programmed response that they have in their head that you have, that you probably don't even know that you're using right now. Like it just, like, next time you're shopping and somebody comes up and asks you, can I help you? Just remember what you say. I'm just looking around. Always. You don't even think about it. You just say it. I'm just looking. You went to the store looking for something specific, the red shoes, the dress, the skirt, the green thing, whatever, right? You went there looking for something specific, and you just told the person that you were just looking around, even though you needed help. So you got to think with that. Like, it takes some work to penetrate through all of the distractions that people have. I've got I got to go buy the wife a birthday present. I've got this big thing going on at work. I've got, 3 people that I got to fire. I've got this one employee who's pregnant and is in and out, at a half day every day. She doesn't know when she's going to have the baby. I got this other guy, just all these issues that people have all the time. And then you pop up once and say, hey, I want to share something with you. And then you never go back. And you wonder why they didn't respond to you. They got so much other stuff going on. You got to hit people over and over and over again until you can actually really get their attention. So the key to follow-up is something that I coined. It's called VAFU. VAFU, VAFU. Value-added follow-up. And so we work in B2B. We're not working direct in direct sales. We sell to companies. So when I'm selling a $250,000 training contract, these people are hard to get a hold of. After we present, there's a long cycle that takes place in different layers in order to get a decision from people. And if after presentations I never followed it up, or I just sent an email, we would get hardly any business, because they start getting everything else, the day-to-day catching up, right, of everything that they have going on. And then they're like, oh yeah, wait, well we had that thing that we looked at 2 weeks ago, or Sam came, Sam shared this opportunity with me, but I haven't really heard anything back from her. But then what do you think that they think of you and how committed you are to your deal, that after you talk to them once, you never follow back up? How committed do you think that gives them any certainty? The fact that you share something with them that you say is awesome and great and will change your life and make you feel great. And if you want, you can actually make extra money doing it. And you're so excited about it, and it's going to change their world. And then you never call them again. You have to get connected, that it is like a duty thing for you. Like, this is my mission. If you had the ability to save somebody's life, how much would you follow up? How much would you push? How much would you pressure them to get them to understand what you have for them? So most people are afraid to be too persistent. I'm afraid I'm going to follow up too much. 99% of salespeople I come across, and I come across a lot of them, never even get in the realm of getting close to following up too much. But that's why VAFU is important. That's why value-added follow-up is important. Every time you call somebody, you have to have a different opening. What I mean by that is you have to bring something of value that's different every single time. So it's not just, hey, I want to follow up on the conversation we had last week. Are you ready to join the deal? Are you ready to sign up? And then you call again. Any decision yet? Have you talked to the what? You can't follow up with the same ask because it's like a broken record. And two things are going to happen. One, you're going to get tired of saying the same thing to the same person over and over and over. And two, they're going to get tired of hearing the same thing from you over and over and over. And then they're not going to answer you. And then you're going to feel all rejected. And you're going to feel low. And then you're not going to want to call anybody for 2 hours or do anything because you're feeling all bummed out because this person didn't respond back to you. Get over it. You gotta just get past that to where you're like, dude, I got a plan for 8 contacts. They're all gonna be different. They're all gonna lead in with something different. Here's a recipe I just found. I thought you'd like it. Hey, I just wanted to give you a tip. I know we talked about, possibly, joining a challenge group or doing this deal with me. I wanted to pass along this exercise tip. It helped me out tremendously. Maybe it'll help you out as well. If you have any questions on what we talked about, I'm always available. Next time around, hey, we're doing this, free call, jump on. You may hear something that you like. Somebody may answer, ask a question that you hadn't asked yet or something. But have a plan to follow up with people and continue to bring them value every time you talk to them.
Good answer. And on that, someone also said, does that same follow-up rule apply when you don't get a response from them? So you invite them and they don't respond to you at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy.
Like, I go through my email and I'm looking at my email and Nordstrom's sends me something probably every day. Every single day they send me an email, and most of the time I just delete it. Until that one email comes across, it's the right moment, it's the right time, and it's like, hey, half yearly sale, 50% off. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll see what they have. And then they got me. So you just have to understand the consistency and the frequency are so important because people have a lot going on, and every single day they have new challenges and new things and new problems that they're trying to fix, and they're trying to just figure their own deal out. So you never know when the right time is. And when somebody says no today, that doesn't mean it's going to be no 2 weeks from now or a month from now. So, number one, you have to follow up at least 5 or 6 times before you quit. And when you quit, you don't quit. You just move them to a different cadence or frequency of follow-up. So instead of every other day, then you move them to once every 3 weeks or something like that. But have a plan, because if you don't have a plan or a structure, then you're not going to end up doing anything.
Okay. Next question is, what's your opinion about cold calls? Do you find people have success with it? And if so, can you give some tips on how to make them successful?
I make cold calls. Well, I don't personally make a ton of cold calls anymore, but that's how I built my business with Grant. I was making cold calls. It's cost effective. All it requires is some energy. It's probably one of the most valuable things that you can learn because you confront some feelings and some things that you have. You get nervous. Are you going to say the right thing? Are they going to be interested? Can you deal with the rejection? But if you can build that muscle to work through and make cold calls, it's one of the most valuable things that you could ever learn to do. So I would highly recommend it. There's a lot that goes into cold calling, and I don't mean to overcomplicate it, but there's so much that happens in such a short period of time on a call to where somebody doesn't hang up on you. I mean, you really have to get a pitch down to, 15 to 20 seconds where you can communicate enough value to somebody or enough information about what you do for them to make a decision. Cold calls have low conversion rates, single digits, 3, 4, 5%. If 5%, if you're great, that means for every 100 calls that you make, you'll get 5 people to actually listen to what you have to say. So you just got to be prepared for that with the right expectations so that you don't feel those losses. But I would say get a script, work it out, constantly work it. If you want to send it to me, if you want to put a script together and send it to me, I'll look at it and I'll give you some suggestions and help you out. So maybe Sam, you can just, if somebody emails you that, they can send it to Sandy and
yep.
You can send it to Sandy and I'll look at it.
Perfect. How do you suggest making increased social media posts while still working a full-time job? Or do you have any other social media tips?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't actually use social media as much as I should, working for the guy that I work for, because he's a maniac. He's all over it. And, I would just tell you to leverage technology where you can, schedule posts while you're at work, use Hootsuite or Buffer for Twitter or whatever. I know that there's one for Instagram too that can actually help you go out and build a following and engage with people. So there's technology that you can use because, while you're at work, it's not fair for you to put attention on something else for either thing. You're not going to be fully vested in what you're trying to do for Beachbody on social, and you're not going to be fully vested in what you're trying to do at your job. So you're really just doing a disservice for yourself. So find some technology that can help you out with that. Hootsuite's probably one of the more popular platforms for that.
How do you know you are truly working at 10X?
Complaints, man. Complaints, criticism, haters. That's when you know you've done it.
I'm so glad you have that. Like you mentioned about criticism, and just today, one of my coaches said that one of her it's supposed to be her best friend, and she posted publicly about how like Beachbody is like crazy, no one needs Shakeology, and she was like kind of hurt by it. But someone who's reading your book was like, no, you're just like on your way to success.
Yeah. That's in the more intense the criticism gets and it starts becoming hate, that's when you really, and it's the weirdest thing because, you're brought up, be friends with everybody, be nice to everybody. There's just people like the president of the United States, half the country hates him. Donald Trump, at least half the country hates him. Hillary, half the country hates him. So everybody doesn't have to love you. You just have to be true to who you are and what you're doing and get the right people to follow you so that you can build a network around you of like-minded people who support you, who are encouraging, because the negative people kind of weed themselves out. So just keep doing the thing that you believe in and that your audience will form around you.
And do you just like ignore what they say or how do you get around those negative comments if like a brand new coach suddenly starts to hear them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you have a new coach that you've signed up, you need to prepare them for that. If I go up in a plane and all of a sudden the guy says, hey, by the way, we're going skydiving and shoves me out of the thing, I'm going to be a little freaked out. I didn't know what was coming. I didn't know what to expect. If a soldier goes over to Afghanistan and he thinks he's going to be working on a base, pushing paper, and all of a sudden they put a rifle in his hand or a machine gun in his hand and say, hey, we're going out on a mission, and that wasn't what he was expecting or she was expecting, it's going to create some problems. So preparation is key to success. Success rewards preparation and the prepared. That's why the role play is so important. That's why having the right expectations about what you're going to be encountering is important. Understanding the objections and how to handle them. All that stuff is critically important.
How do you prevent burnout from working all the time?
Got to have a strong purpose. Got to have a purpose and a reason for showing up that's so big that fire will never go out. And when you feel burnout, it just means that you've lost a little bit of focus on your purpose and your why. Because when people are connected to their purpose and it's big enough, part of the 10X rule is setting goals that are big enough. If your goals aren't exciting to where you want to stay up until midnight working on something, or you work a 9 to 5 and then when you get home, you want to work from 5 until 2 a.m. in the morning, your goals probably aren't big enough, because you need to have goals that are so freaking exciting that they keep you up at night. Like you're like, I got to get up and I got to do this post, or whatever the case may be. You have to have something that's exciting and that's big and that's juicy. And anytime you have a loss, anytime you feel discouraged, anytime you feel overworked, anytime I feel like that, the first thing I do is I sit down and I rewrite my goals. What's important to me? Sandy Scott sees notebooks all over my goals all the time. Every single day I write my goals down because it gets me focused. And then sometimes I have a bad day. Everybody has bad days. And sometimes I got to write my goals down 3 or 4 times. When I lost that big deal, I definitely sat down and wrote my goals.
Good answer. Okay, this is a long one. I think the biggest thing, especially when trying to close on the coaching side of Beachbody, is that some people see this as a MLM, not marketing. Many of them have been lied to or taken advantage of by other marketers. Others just think they're going to sign up and make it overnight, and when that doesn't happen, they quit. It takes a special kind of person to do what everyone else won't. When I approach people, I am looking to solve a problem, and when the product comes up, I give it value. Once they agree this will solve their problem and it's worth more than this sticker value, it's up to us to ink the deal. So I guess that was not a question. Joe, I don't know what that stands for. Okay, skipping over that. General tips for how to get people to agree to join, to invite someone, or to find prospects.
So in order to get quality, you have to have quantity. And one of the biggest disservices that you can do to yourself is not reaching out enough. Another kind of thing, we have all these little like acronyms and formulas and things that we use. And there's this one called A cubed, and it's A cubed, right? Attitude, approach, and action. And if any one of those three things is out, and you just got to sit down. If things aren't going your way, if you feel like you're doing the right things and you're not getting the result that you want, you just need to write those three things down: attitude, approach, and action. And ask yourself, do I have a good attitude? Because if you have a great attitude, you can check it off. Do I have the right approach? If you know that you have a tried and true approach and it's perfect and you do it perfect every time, check it off. That would only leave one thing: the level of activity that you're taking. And if you're not taking enough activity to get criticism, if you're not making cold calls and getting hung up on, if those things aren't happening, activity could be out for you. And so one of the biggest things that I think that, particularly, like I don't know about anybody on this call, but a lot of the folks that I talk to that are in network marketing companies, they don't have like the typical business experience of building a business. And a lot of times, they want to do it as a part-time thing. And so sometimes some of those expectations just aren't there. Like I tell my guys, hey, you've got to make 300 phone calls today if you want to talk to like 5 people. So they're all day making phone calls all day long. And then when they start building a pipeline and they start getting more people, more contacts, they've gone from 100 people to 200 people to 400 people to 800 people to 1,000 people that they've reached out and talked to. Eventually, once you get to 1,000 people, let's say, you've got 80 that are actually interested. And of those 80, 60 actually sign up. And of those 60 that actually sign up, then 40 of them start working the business the right way, or whatever the percentages work out to be. But what understanding that does for you is now you have an activity target. Okay, I've sat down and done the math. I know that I need to talk to 1,000 people to blah, 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 to get the amount of coaches that you want, because sales is truly a numbers game. It's about the activity. It's about the reach and building this business. And I don't know anybody who's built a network marketing company, a team in any company that has ever been successful without reaching out and talking to people. So, the activity piece may be what's out for you. And if you're working part-time, try to increase. If you got an hour a day, try to get as much possibly done as you can in that 1 hour a day that you're working with.
And I think that's a good point too, because so many people even hop on these calls and they feel so inspired, but after the call, they don't take any action, or they hear all these tips, but then like on our weekly national wake up calls, but they don't do anything about it. So the action one is super important.
Yeah. And then you got to be committed, the discipline to show up and do the same thing every day. And it's a marathon. It really is. But once you get to that point, network marketing is a business where the work is front loaded and the glory is on the tail end. Like you've got to do the work in the beginning for the payoff down the road. And, you know, my mom used to always tell me that. I forget what she was talking about. She's like, you got to put the work in now so that it's easier later. I forget what it was, but it never really made sense to me. And everybody that comes into my office that fails, it's because they don't get that how much work they've got to do up front to get to the point where you have a group of good coaches that are working the business, that are out building teams, that you have a real substantial business that you're sitting on. The amount of activity that you have to reach out to is just, it's a lot.
All right. And the final question, it says, how do you overcome and close on people who have asked to join in the past and their last convo was left off as they don't want to because of the money factor, lack of time, it's not for them, or some excuse? You've already gone through the explanation of what you get for your money. It's only 30 minutes. So basically you've already addressed all of their concerns. So how do you restart the conversation for that kind of follow-up?
Well, two things. Money can be an issue one of two ways. Either one, they don't have the money, or two, they don't see enough value in what you do to give you the money. So that's an important question to ask. When you're talking to people, sometimes you have to ask hard questions. So are you telling me that it's too much money for what I've explained to you, or do you literally not have the money? Because if they tell you that it's because they don't see the value in it, that means, if you accept responsibility, that you have to go back and figure out, hey, what am I missing here? What am I not understanding? You know, I watched those, you know, the one with the guy at the grocery store, and he's scanning all the you know, all that stuff. He's, you know, it's like $700 worth of stuff where you could just get it all in this one little bag. I mean, that's a great story. It's a great image to tell people. Like, you know, you want to be healthy, don't you? You want to live a long life. Do you have kids, right? Do you want to be around to see them grow up and do amazing, awesome things? How would you like to feel good and be more energized every single day? I've got a way to do it, and it's only going to cost you about $100 a month. Would you spend $100 a month so that you could have more energy, feel better, look great, and have a shot at living a longer, more fulfilled life to spend with your family? Because if you can justify $100 for that, then we have something to talk about. But if you don't have the money, where could you get it from? If you had to come up with $100 today, where would you get it from? So you just got to work, you got to stick in the deal and like try to figure out like what is the real issue. And if you end up separating for whatever reason, the same principle with follow-up applies. You have to come back with a different ask. Something has to be different. There has to be a new reason to reach out. It can't just be, hey, I talked to you last week. You said it was too much. You said you didn't have the money. And then a week later you reach out. You know, hey, I want to see if you're ready to sign up yet. Did you get the money together yet? You know, maybe the reach out is, oh my gosh, Sam, you wouldn't believe it. They just came out with a brand new workout. I tried it. Oh my gosh. Sweating. I feel great. My glutes, they're real tight, you know?
Yeah, I love that. The VAFU. I'm totally going to use that and share it with everyone.
Hashtag
VAFU.
All right. Well, those are all the questions. And we actually just hit an hour, so it was perfect timing. So thank you again, Jared, for hopping on. I really appreciate you spending the time with our team and just sharing all of your wealth of knowledge with everyone. Good. Everybody follow me at Jared Glant. You can watch our show, Young Hustlers. Follow my boss, too, at Grant Cardone. I'll put it in the recording details. We got some good stuff. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for hopping on. Have a good night, everyone. Take care. Bye.